We spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on these fragile pieces of art called comic books. I'm always looking for a way to protect my collection, protect my investment, and just keep the books around so I can pass them on to my kids or sell them at a value that they deserve. And I'm looking at a new idea that came across my desk called by Comic Capsule, or it's called Comic Capsule. I think the company is also called Comic Capsule. They sell two versions. One comes in color that has a colored strip at the top and a solid back. Then the clear version, again, is just clear at the top. It's also clear through the back. So we're going to give these a shot. Each one is about 20 bucks. I got them from their website. They actually came pretty quickly. I was impressed with the shipping times and the turnaround. I do want to say that the customer support on this was great. I had ordered them initially and they were marked as arrived from the post office. They didn't arrive. The customer support sent me an email, asked how I liked it. I told them I actually didn't get the package. They had something on my desk in 2 days. So huge shout out to the Comic Capsule customer support team. Again, not a sponsored video, but I think they deserve the recognition for getting that fixed for me. And I'm not sure what happened to the first package. It never actually arrived, even though the post office claimed that it did. So let's get into the video, see how these turn out. All right. Today we're looking at the Comic Capsule. Again, looking for ways to protect our books, alternatives potentially to a CGC slab. So this particular product cost about 20 bucks, shipped from their website, delivered to my house. Taken out of the plastic wrapper. This is the clear version. They also have a colored version where they have probably about half a dozen different colors, where the colored strip is at the top. I don't have a colored solid backing. So I was drawn initially to just the clear version because I like to kind of see the advertisements, the back of the book. I just think it shows the entire comic book. And that's what we're going to be working with today. So we're going to open it up, read through the instructions, see how it goes. So initially it says to open, push both buttons on the logo. So push in on the logo. Yep. Came off. Very simple. Maybe. Like it slides out. So the internal dimensions, it's going to hold a 7-inch width by 10.5-inch height. It's going to cover just about every book that we're collecting. Golden Age isn't going to fit, but I don't think we're going to try to be putting any Golden Age books in this right now. It does have a spot so you could mount it on the wall if you wanted to hang it. It's away from where the actual book would sit, so I think that's important. So you're not going to have any potential damage there. So let's see how this goes. It does have an opportunity to label it on the top edge, which is kind of nice. It has labeling instructions and some dimensions. You could also apply a label here in the front. We might try that again later. But again, it's got some nice instructions. It looks like it also is directing you to some online labels where we could just type these in, print them off. So we're kind of mimicking that look of a CGC book, at least for now. We'll let that go. And we're going to be working with Spider-Woman #1. I picked this up at Comic-Con in San Diego. Very, very cheap. It definitely needs a press and a clean. But just to get it into a slab for now, let's get this in here and see how it looks. So, just to give you an idea of the dimensions, this is a Silver Age bag and board. It's too big just to go in the bag and board. I usually like to try to display these without the bag and board. This is an older bag anyway, so it needs to go. Pretty nice looking book. Again, it would really benefit from a press, maybe a little bit of clean as well. It's a little bit hard to see on the video. This has a vertical non-color breaking crease, maybe a little bit of color breaking here at the bottom. It looks like this was just folded over, at least the cover at some point, because you don't see that same fold go past the cover. So maybe the cover just got pulled up. A couple of small tears as well. Not a very high grade copy, but it is my copy and I would like to display it. So it looks like this just simply slides in. Snaps closed. Super simple. The book does have some room to slide, but not a whole lot. And it's a Silver Age book. I think a modern age book would have more room to move around. It does kind of shake and shimmy, so you might end up with some blunted corners. But again, I'm not going to be throwing this thing around. I'm going to be mounting this on the wall. But if I was using this to display or to put in my bag, or I was taking it around to shows, it's got some wiggle room. You know, when we looked at the comic skin, that thing was not moving around. If anything, we were a little worried about blunting the book during the installation. Let's grab a Mylar and maybe a modern age backing board and see what that would look like. So hold tight, we'll be right back. All right, we are back with our comic capsule. So when I put the Spider-Woman #1 into the holder, it's got some wiggle room. It's moving around in there just a little bit. I think it displays pretty well. I mean, you can see the book front and back. Back is a little bit cloudy. These are supposedly UV protected. We'll be testing that in a different video. But I can see the back. I can see the ad. It is the great selling flower seeds ad, I think, from the 70s. Everybody loves that. But I also wanted to show what this might look like if we try to put it in within a board and a Mylar. And I think it's important to see how we would get this out as well. So it comes out pretty smoothly. Just slide it out of the bag. And if I compare the size, this is a modern or current age backing board that will definitely fit inside of the well. Compare that with a modern Mylar, which is 7 inches wide. It is not going to fit. So the internal dimensions are supposed to be 7 inches wide. The Mylar is 7 inches wide and it's too big. So that's not going to fit. So if we have a bag that is smaller than that, that is just what I use, are these 2mm, 7-inch wide Mylars for modern books. On a book like this, I would normally use a silver Mylar and a silver backing board. So that isn't really going to go anywhere. So I think it's back into the container for Spider-Woman #1. We'll just go through it again. Very simply, slides right in. Again, as you can see, we've got about 1/4 of an inch, maybe not quite that much. There's a little more than 1/8 of an inch room to play. And if I tilt it, she'll just slide down, tilt it back. Again, you can see the space there. It works for me if I'm displaying on my wall. I've got room here up at the top for a label. Not a whole lot. And then there's room on the top spine for a label as well. So let's compare what this comic capsule looks like with some other books that we've looked at. So if you compare it to the comic skin, it's a lot smaller in terms of height. So we're given about I'd say about 1.25 inches in height. So you're certainly going to see a difference if you display these next to each other on the wall. And then looking at width, again, you've got probably that same 1.25 inch giveaway. If you're looking for consistency on a display wall, this is going to be problematic. I don't think you're going to be able to mix and match these. Now, if we compare that to the CGC book, we'll pull over our Batman the Killing Joke. It's just a CGC standard slab. Again, you can see we're giving away about an inch in width, and probably say maybe inch and an eighth, inch and a quarter on the height. So presentation wise, there is going to be a big difference. You know, the CGC, this one actually has got a little play inside the holder well. The comic skins, these guys weren't going anywhere. Once we actually had them in that inner sleeve and were placed in the well, they weren't going to move. It was a giant pain to get them in there. This installation, incredibly easy, but I just didn't feel like it was quite as secure. So this and this, basically the same price. They shipped about the same timing. Comparing these three against each other, the comic skins, at least in height and width, comparable to the CGC. You could put these two next to each other on the wall. It's going to blend in visually. This is going to stand out just being so much smaller in just dimensions. The depth, comic skin, and the comic capsule, identical. Barely a breath of difference. Both of them are much, much more shallow than the CGC. And again, this is encapsulated. This is hopefully never going to open up. Well, both of these, you know, they are temporary. I could open these up, clean the book, send it in for grading, clean the book, press it, put it back into the skin or the comic capsule. The comic capsule in particular, very, very easy to open and close. It honestly felt a little too easy, maybe even a little lax. But I've got a lot of wiggle room in there. Well, the comic skin, I felt once you got it in place, it wasn't going to go anywhere. Ultimately, for 20 bucks, I feel like this is a pretty good product. You can buy them in 5-packs, 10-packs on the website at Comic Capsule. I think I would prefer the comic skin, but this works. This is a pretty solid product. We're going to do some UV testing to see what it actually blocks in terms of light that might damage your comic. But if you see these in your local comic book shop or you have a chance to swing by the website, I'd recommend picking some up. You just probably don't want to try to display them next to your CGC graded books or something in a similar encapsulated size. So happy hunting, guys. Get out there and let me know what you find.